Hola, ¿qué tal? Welcome to this channel made by two humans who live in Spain, where we want you to be happier traveling throughout the Iberian Peninsula with the help of our videos and of our self-guided walking tours. And welcome to a new session of questions and answers and general travel news. Next Q&A session on the first Sunday of June. If you have any questions for that video, feel free to ask. The most important video we published on the channel in April was dedicated to the typical food of Barcelona. It was a huge success, especially because we put a great deal of careful work into presenting the dishes that best represent the city. If you haven't watched it yet, make sure you do it after this video. And from our video archive, we want to bring back a video that we invested an absurd amount of time in, but that surprisingly wasn't watched by many people. It's a journey through the history of Spain throughout 75 monuments. It was made with a lot of love. The link to that video and to all the resources we'll mention on the show is in the first comment below this video. Before the questions, and as usual, let's go over some news from the world of travel. I know we've talked many times about the topic of tickets, but we don't mind repeating the warning. Several people told us last month that they tried to buy tickets for the Alhambra in Granada and they were sold out. Once again, the warning: buy your tickets for the Alhambra as far in advance as possible. We're talking months, not weeks. Don't be that traveler who visits Granada and misses out on one of the most extraordinary places in Spain. The warning applies to the most visited monuments in Spain as well. I'm thinking Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, the Alcázar in Seville, and many others. Here, it's not necessary to buy months in advance, not least because that won't always be possible, but don't show up without a ticket. And one more warning related to tickets. Be careful where you buy them. Be especially careful with the Sagrada Familia, and we have a video explaining how expensive it can get if you buy tickets on the wrong website. It is a shame there are some content creators recommending websites where those tickets are being sold overpriced. You should not do that. Your priority should be your followers. So always buy on the official website. And the same goes for the Alhambra. In the recent video we recorded and published with tips on the Alhambra, we explain what the only website where you should buy your tickets is, and that is the official website. The EES, the new border control system, is the topic of the moment. As of April the 10th, it should be fully operational at all entry points into the European Union. No more introductory period. The consequences we'll find out this summer when millions of tourists arrive in Spain and Portugal. If you're not familiar with EES, don't miss the video where we answer all the questions about this topic that will impact the immigration procedure for those arriving in Spain and Portugal. Be especially careful, those of you booking those crazy 1-hour layovers. Let's talk now about the funiculars of Lisbon, known in Portuguese as ascensores. You may remember the tragic accident at the Gloria funicular last year with many fatalities, including tourists. After that accident, the company responsible for operating the transportation suspended its service. Right now, you won't be able to ride any funicular. Safety tests are being carried out on the Bica funicular and the Lavra funicular, with no set date for when they will resume operations. And with a judicial inquiry involving it, the Gloria funicular is completely shut down and is expected to take a very long time before it runs again, if it ever does. After several months, high-speed trains are running again to and from Malaga. A landslide cut off the line and the repair work only just finished. And some good news about the Hola Barcelona Pass, the city's unlimited transportation pass, which already has a video on the channel. It's no longer necessary to exchange the voucher for the pass at the city tourism office. Now you receive a code that you use at any metro machine to get the pass. This puts an end to the hassle of having to find a tourism office that's open when you arrive in Barcelona, or if you arrive at Sants railway station where there are no tourism offices. Now, problem sorted out. We're staying in Barcelona because a channel follower reported a scam by a taxi driver. When our follower arrived at the end of the ride, the amount on the meter had almost doubled. What we are going to say here applies to Barcelona as well as to any other city in Spain. If you believe you are being scammed, that the charge doesn't match what it should be, always ask for a receipt. Always. It should include the driver's ID, the fare amount, and any surcharges charged. That simple act of asking for a receipt works as a defense against improper charges. If the driver refuses, or if the receipt includes some strange charge, tell the driver you are going to call the police and refuse to pay anything before the police arrive. After the ride, major cities, certainly Madrid and Barcelona, have this, report the driver on the website set up for that purpose to get them penalized and taken off the road. The majority of taxi drivers in Madrid and Barcelona are honest, but if nobody reports the dishonest ones, this kind of minority behavior will never end. And now we need to wrap up a story we started in our previous Q&A video. In short, we were downgraded to a lower class on a flight with Iberia. Our initial complaints got us nowhere, but shortly after the previous video was published, the case was resolved. In the end, believe it or not, Iberia ended up refunding the cash amount we were asking for, plus an amount in Avios reward points higher than what we had requested based on what European regulations provide for. Go figure the calculation they used. We are very interested in talking about this case again, not because of a specific problem, but because it illustrates a way of handling complaints that is very typical of airlines. You need to arm yourself with courage and patience and always file a complaint. You already know, ask and you shall receive. We know so many people who were victims of airline errors and never complained. It's incredibly draining, but once you've established, as we did, that you are entitled to compensation, you have to go after it. Nobody is going to do that for you. The company will deny everything the first time. Don't give up, keep pushing. It happened to us, it was a long sequence. In the first contact by phone, the company denied we were entitled to anything. They were saying we maintained all the perks associated to the class we bought. The only change was the seat. Come on, we bought that class, that specific class, because of the seat. We wanted to sit in a more comfortable seat. You changed my seat and you are saying I have no rights whatsoever. Oh, please, wise up. In the second contact, through the website, they replied that we had traveled in the class of our choice, despite our complaint showing the opposite. They did not read our complaint. In the third complaint, they already accepted we were right, but offered a very small compensation. And in the fourth and final round, they ended up granting compensation greater than what we had demanded. We have a video on the channel where we explain how to proceed in a very common situation, a flight delay. Make sure you watch it. And before we get to the questions, we want to introduce two companions of ours in the channel's videos. Over time, many people have asked about them, but today we want to make the formal introduction. For our Spanish videos, representing the country, we have a figure of Don Quixote. It was a wedding gift made by a craftsman from the small town of Embu das Artes near São Paulo in Brazil. We think very few characters represent Spain as well as the night created by Cervantes. Coming to a figure for a Portuguese videos was a bit more difficult. William, a Brazilian artist who lives in Lisbon and who is now a dear friend of ours, had handcrafted a sculpture of the writer Fernando Pessoa that we thought would work very well on the channel to represent Portugal. But when we discovered that William also had this sculpture of José Saramago, we fell in love with it. He's a writer, deceased writer, and we fell in love with Saramago both for the literary quality of his work, Nobel Prize winner, and for the greatness of the man himself. And so here's Saramago joining Don Quixote in the channel's videos. It's not a random pairing. There is a deep philosophical affinity between Saramago and Don Quixote. Saramago considered Cervantes the father of the modern novel and was directly inspired by him in his blending of fiction and reality. And now we start with the questions. First, questions from channel members. For the price of a cup of coffee, you can become a channel member, a way of supporting the work we do. Silvia has already traveled to several parts of Spain, always in search of history and culture. Now she's thinking of visiting Asturias and wanted to know if it's a destination that would suit her interests and which places she should visit. Silvia, we are familiar with Asturias, but we don't have any content about it on the channel because we visited the region before we started our YouTube channel. It's a destination where you will find exactly what you are looking for everywhere: history and cultural richness. But it also stands out for its nature and landscape, both coastal and mountain. It is a destination best visited with your own transportation. If you rely on public transit, it will take much longer and you probably won't be able to reach all the places. Among the cities you should visit, we would highlight Oviedo, the capital, with special attention to the pre-Romanesque churches near the capital, Gijón and Avilés. Among the coastal towns and villages, make a note of Cudillero, Llanes, Lastres and Ribadesella. And in the mountains, Cangas de Onís and Covadonga. This is just a very brief overview to get you started. 2 years ago in Zaragoza, an employee at a car rental company told Manuel that while the company accepted his Mexican driver's license, the police in Aragon did not accept licenses like this. He wants to know if the rules have changed. Manuel, without having seen your license or witnessed the situation, it's hard to say anything, but it would not be the first time a company employee has given information that does not match reality. The rules apply throughout the entire country. There is no exception for Aragon. Article 21 of the Spanish Official State Gazette, and we'll provide a link below, states that driver's licenses issued to foreign nationals and written in Spanish are valid for driving in Spain. The law hasn't changed. Only the requirement for an international driving permit may change from one company to another. And if you have a driver's license in a language other than Spanish, you will most likely need an international driving permit, unless it's a European Union driving license. Our dear channel friends Ramon and Zoe want to know if we have any information on our channel about a village in Andalusia called Fuengirola, or if we plan to make a video about it. Well, more than a village, Fuengirola is a city with a population of 85,000 that swells to nearly 250,000 during the beach season. We've been to Fuengirola to visit a dear couple of friends of ours who live there, but we don't plan to feature it on the channel. Along with Torremolinos, Fuengirola represents what has been called developmentalism, a phenomenon of the 60s and 70s characterized by uncontrolled development to accommodate mass tourism. In our opinion, it has no specific appeal that justifies a visit. We certainly find it much less interesting than Nerja or Frigiliana in Malaga as well. Best regards to you both. And Marta is going to be in Andalusia and has some extra time since she's already been to Seville and Malaga. And she'd like to visit some of the white villages in Cadiz, but isn't sure how to do it from, say, Cadiz using public transportation. Marta, the first question is whether you've already been to Cordoba and Granada, because that would be our top recommendations. If you have already been to them, the truth is that the White Villages region is ideal for exploring by car because public transportation is limited. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to figure out the schedules, and it will take you much longer to make that trip. There's a local bus line, for example, that connects Cadiz with Arcos de la Frontera, but are you just going to stay there? How are you going to continue the trip? If you take our advice, save the white villages for when you can follow the road trip we have on our channel and find another destination for those days you will be in the region. If you haven't been to Granada or Cordoba, we don't know, we would spend every day we could there. Cadiz is a fantastic destination as well. And now questions from non-channel members we thought it would be interesting to share. Isabella didn't actually ask a question, but rather issued a warning about the condition of buses and bus stations in Spain and Portugal based on her experience traveling between Lisbon and Seville. She says they might come as a negative surprise to anyone accustomed to long trips on super comfortable buses in other countries around the world. There's a strange atmosphere, she says, at some bus stations, toilets that don't work on buses during long trips, and concerns about luggage safety. Between buses and trains, she always recommends choosing the train. You want to make a general warning based on your experience traveling between Lisbon and Seville, but Portugal and Spain are very, very big, and the experiences are very different as well, so we will be very, very careful. If you are just familiar with Seville and Lisbon, make your comments apply to that experience of yours rather than a general statement which might not be based in fact. Well, although it is not the norm, what you describe isn't unusual either. We're always much more on guard at a bus station than at a train station, and like you, if given the choice, we always take the train. Regarding comfort, we'd like to remind you that there's nothing in Spain and Portugal comparable to the sleeper or semi-sleeper buses you can find in Asia or in Latin America. Cesar wants to take a day trip to Lisbon from Barcelona, and he wants to know whether he should buy the plane tickets in advance or wait until he's already in Barcelona. Airline prices are dynamic. The higher the demand and the closer the travel date, the more expensive they get. A ticket bought for 50 euros 3 months in advance might cost 400 euros if bought a week before. Now, you cannot imagine how sad it was to hear about your plans. We imagine you are staying in Barcelona for 40 days, you will have explored the city and all the wonderful nearby day trips and still want to go somewhere far away. But rather than a day dedicated to an uncertain journey through Lisbon, it will be a day spent traveling there, coming back and waiting at the airports. You will need to get up early, travel to Barcelona airport, arrive early, fly, travel from Lisbon airport to the center and then do everything on the way back. You will spend more time traveling than in Lisbon itself, but the money and the trip are yours. Maraib is traveling to Spain and will be staying with family in Valencia for 10 days and wants to know how to document this family visit with immigration authorities. It's very easy. Your family needs to request a letter of invitation from the National Police. Tell them to start the process right away as it takes time. In the video where we address common questions about immigration, we discuss these and other requirements. Ariel wants to know if Valencian is a language. We don't want to open that can of worms, but we'll tell you that from a legal standpoint, Valencia's Statute of Autonomy defines it as a distinct language. From an academic standpoint, many linguists, though not all, consider it to be the same as Catalan, with variations similar to those that exist between British English and American English. It's a complex and controversial issue. Guillermo is going to spend a week in Galicia based in Vigo and wants to know which beaches we recommend in the region. Well, first of all, we are a bit surprised by your choice of Vigo as a base for visiting Galicia. From a logistical standpoint, a location farther north would be more suitable. As for the recommendations in the region, first of all, the beaches on CS Islands. Though visiting during peak season requires booking well in advance. Playa de la Lanzada or Playa América in Nigran. Eleonora is visiting Barcelona in May and wants to know if everything at the airport is still the same. And yes, there haven't been any significant changes beyond the price hike we covered in a short video a while back. Access to the terminals is now restricted. You may be asked to show your boarding pass when you enter the building. And the never-ending construction work to extend the train line to Terminal 1 is still ongoing. Silvia wants to know what the weather is like in Madrid in October. In our Madrid guide here in the channel, you will find information on what October has been like in the past. October is a month of change. Sometimes it feels like summer, and other times it's already heading toward winter. To find out what the weather will be like in 2026, you will need to check the forecast a week before your trip, and we have a video on the channel explaining how to do this. Danilo bought a high-speed train ticket from Barcelona to Madrid that lists a travel time of 1 hour and 20 minutes. Since he saw our comments in the previous video about slower speeds, he wanted to know if that information on the ticket is up to date. We suspect it is not, but we would need to know when you bought that ticket. If it was before the accident, that information is out of date. If you have a Renfe account, everyone should create one when buying a ticket. Just log into the website or app to see the updated schedules for your ticket. Bianca heard us say that whenever possible we choose to travel by train, and she wants to know if that's still the case when there are few options or when transfers are involved, as it is the case with the route from Malaga to Granada. Bianca, there are always exceptions. We assess each case individually, and there are also the questions of times and prices. In the case of Malaga to Granada, there's a direct train that covers the route in an hour and a half, and to us that seems unbeatable. Nazario is planning a trip through Spain and Portugal and wants to know whether it is better to start in Madrid, then go to Porto, Lisbon, and then Andalusia and Barcelona, or do it the other way around. And the truth is, it doesn't really matter. Just choose the option that best fits your schedule and the transportation costs between the destinations you will be visiting. Elba is Mexican and is planning to travel to Spain with her 81-year-old mother. She wants to know if she needs to purchase health insurance for her. Elba, Spanish immigration authorities won't require you to have health insurance, but traveling without it, especially in the case of a 81-year-old, seems to us to be extremely reckless. Diana has a couple of questions about trains. The first is about the connection between Madrid Airport and Atocha to catch a train. She has a connecting time of 3 hours and a half and wants to know the fastest way to get to Atocha. And the second question is that she had a 30-minute connection in Cordoba, great, with different companies, and the schedule for one of the trains has been changed, leaving her with only 12 minutes, and she doesn't know what to do. She says the ticket she bought isn't refundable. Diana, regarding your first question, we always recommend a 4-hour buffer between flight arrival time and train departure to ensure a smooth trip. With the new EES, which can add time during immigration, we would not reduce that buffer. The fastest way to get to Atocha are ride-sharing services or even faster taxis with a fixed fare. Regarding the connection in Cordoba, 12 minutes is really cutting it close, especially with two different companies. You say your ticket isn't refundable. But since they changed the schedule you booked, that does open the door to requesting a refund. Get in touch with a company and never book half-hour connections in Cordoba if you are traveling with different companies to avoid something like this happening again. Pablo wants to know which towns to visit on the Costa Brava. Without knowing how many days you have for this trip, we are just going to name a few places. Cadaqués, Calella de Palafrugell, Begur and Tossa de Mar along the coast, and Pals, Peratallada and Monells inland. Juan wants to know if the EES is fully operational in Madrid. Well, as we said at the beginning of the video, in theory, EES should be fully operational in all European airports and points of entry from the beginning of April. Whether that is the case in practice is a different matter, so let us know if you enter Spain after April the 10th and the machines were disconnected. That would not be a good sign. Teodulo wants to know if there are trains between Spain and Switzerland and if they are worth it price-wise. Well, there are no direct trains. You will have to make a series of transfers, go from Barcelona to France, and then in France change train or trains depending on your destination. In Switzerland, that trip will take you many hours. Do your research and compare the cost with that of flying on the same date to see which option is more worthwhile for you. Melvin wants to know if it's true that there is a dedicated immigration line in Terminal 1 for passengers with connecting flights. We assume, since you don't specify, that you are referring to Madrid and not to Barcelona. We haven't gone through that immigration checkpoint ourselves to give an informed answer, but we suspect that that dedicated line for connecting flights as such does not exist. However, in the case of a short layover, something you should avoid due to the risks involved, you can let one of the staff members know so they can try to get you through the fast lane. But don't count on there being a permanent fast lane for people catching connecting flights. Jose Carlos asked us about the validity of his passport. Jose Carlos, your passport must be valid for at least 3 months from the date you leave the European Union. You can find these and other immigration requirements in the video we have on this topic. Elena wants to know what the financial requirements are for entry in Portugal. Good question, Elena. While Spain bases this amount on the minimum wage, Portugal follows a ministerial regulation that sets a fixed amount. It's a base fee of €75 for each entry into Portugal, plus €40 for each day you stay in the country. Next question from a viewer who will be spending 85 days in Spain and is looking for advice on how to transport their medications. Well, you don't mention what kind of medications you are bringing, which makes it hard to answer. An aspirin isn't the same as an eye drop. And you don't mention whether you're coming during the summer or in winter. Follow the instructions for each medication. Since you are bringing a substantial amount of medication for customs purposes, make sure to bring them in their original packing and also bring the corresponding prescriptions to prove their use. Eduardo would like a video for people with limited mobility, such as those who use a cane or wheelchair, who are visiting Spain. Eduardo, more than just a video, that topic could fill an entire channel. We'd love to tackle it, but to do so we would need first-hand experience, which we don't have. The golden rule we give everyone in those circumstances is to double or triple the length of stay we recommend for each city, because their pace is much slower. With more time, you'll have more peace of mind and enjoy yourself more. Olger is going to have 2 long weekends in Madrid, one from Friday to Tuesday, and wanted to know what road trips through medium-sized or small towns they could take by car without returning to Madrid. He wanted to know if we had updated the Don Quixote route. Our road trips don't fit within the limited time you have available. For a short weekend, we don't have anything. For the long weekend, it would be an express version of the Don Quixote route, from which you have to skip quite a few stops. We plan to publish the fully fledged Don Quixote route later this year, but for now, we don't have anything else. Jorge wants a quick 5-day itinerary for Madrid and recommendations on where to eat. We will share below a list of our videos about Madrid on the channel. There are many videos covering the city's main attractions, so choose the ones that interest you most based on your personal preferences and put together your own itinerary. We also have several videos about food in Madrid. On top of that, we have 4 half-day self-guided tours through Madrid that should provide content for 2 full days of your stay. Natalia wants to know if the discounts offered, for example, by the Museo del Prado to people over 65 are only for residents or apply to everyone. Natalia, we've already made a short video about this. Unless there is a specific restriction, such as only for residents of the European Union, this discount is available to everyone. You just need to carry with you an official ID to verify your age if asked. Jose wants to know how to get from Segovia to La Granja. La Granja, there is a magnificent royal palace and gardens. Jose, there are local buses that take you to La Granja. They run at regular intervals. The trip takes 20 minutes. What we suggest is that on arrival to Segovia, you go to the tourist office where they should be able to provide you with the latest timetables. Maria Luisa wants to know if we have a video about the Madrid city card. We don't have one yet, but it's on our wish list. Madrid used to have, way back when, a pretty good tourist card, but if I'm not mistaken, the company that ran it went bankrupt. The Madrid City Card is a relatively little known card that has some things we don't like claiming to offer free admission to places that are free for everyone. But we think it might help save a little money. So we'll see if we can find the time to try it out. Antonio wants to know if the T-Mobilitat Pass would be ideal for 2 couples visiting Barcelona for 2 days. He's wondering if the T-Familiar ticket would be the best choice and whether it can be purchased through the app or upon arrival. Antonio, we have a video on our channel where we explain everything you need to know about T-Mobilitat, the Barcelona transport ticket. The link below this video. You can use tickets loaded onto T-Mobilitat or buy a 48-hour Hola Barcelona unlimited pass. T-Familiar you mentioned would be a good choice for the 4 of you, yes. It's better to buy the tickets when you arrive. Buying through the T-Mobilitat app is full of complications. And another question from Geogr, who has heard about an amusement park called Puy du Fou near Toledo and wants to know if we have visited it and if you need to buy tickets in advance. Actually, it's more of a theme park than an amusement park. There are no rides per se, but rather shows that take place throughout the park's opening hours. We don't have a review of it, nor do we plan to visit it. It's a park that presents a caricatured view of Spanish history, and we'd never trade a single minute of exploring the city of Toledo for a trip there. Unless, of course, you are planning to spend a week in Toledo and are curious about the park and don't mind spending the money. During peak season and on weekends, it's recommended to buy tickets in advance. Also, check how to get there as there is no public transportation. And with Geogr, we wrap up this month's Q&A. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next month. We'll leave you with a video we mentioned at the beginning in which we take a journey through Spanish history via a diverse selection of monuments. We're waiting for you in that video.